Alright, so this is going to be episode 2 of the cut. I'll be going over my chest and back training, some thoughts I've had on refeeds and the refeeds I've had so far on the cut, and yeah, let's get into it. So before I get into the specifics of my chest and back training, I should explain why I prefer the Arnold split over the other splits I've done. So the main issue I had with push-pull legs, for example, is that I just did not like the overlap that existed on, say, your push day, the chest and the triceps and the shoulders. I found there's a lot of overlap between the muscles, and some exercises suffered depending on which one I did first, versus on chest and back, you're training very different muscles, like pushing and pulling on the same day. And then same with shoulders and arms. On arm day, biceps and triceps, there's not much overlap. Maybe a bit with the triceps and shoulders, but it's not nearly as noticeable as on push-pull legs. The issue that I had with the upper-lower split, which I used to do, is that the upper day just feels too compressed. There's too many exercises, too many body parts being trained in one day, and I'd rather split that up into 2 days and give each muscle, usually I do 2 exercises for each muscle, because in a lot of cases, they need to be trained slightly differently. For example, for triceps, I have a press, which does not activate the long head as much, and then just a strict elbow extension, which trains all heads of the tricep, including the long head. So a lot of muscles I like to do in that manner. For example, as you'll see with chest training, I like to do an incline, more so for the upper chest, and then just a normal horizontal adduction, I guess. Another positive I've found is that the shoulder and arm day in the Arnold split is quite easy. It's half of a rest day, honestly. It's not as taxing as the leg day or the chest and back day. And so when you do 3 days on, and then you have your leg day and then a rest day, I feel very refreshed going into the chest and back day. So really, it's only once every 2 days that you have a harder session. When it comes to volume versus intensity, I'm definitely someone who likes to train with high intensity, taking almost all my sets to failure. And so with that approach, I find that 4 sets per muscle for every day that I train it is like no more than that is really necessary. So if I do 4 sets twice a week, that's 8 sets per muscle per week. Some muscles might be a bit more or less depending on the priority that I give to them, and also the exercise order matters in the split. So for example, on chest and back, back is my highest priority right now, and chest kind of takes a back seat on that day. So the split also allows me to play with the exercise order for what I want to prioritize. I really believe the training split is not the most important thing in your training. The split should be personalized for you, for sure, but depending on your personality, how you like to train, a lot of different things can work. Full body, upper lower, 3-day splits, they can all work. But the Arnold split right now for me is what I've found to work best. All right, so time to get into the training. This was a bit of an abnormal session. There was a couple things that I did differently than how my usual chest and back day would look like. But I'll go over the general structure I follow and the modifications I made and why I made them. Busted! Little cookie on the way to the gym. There's some pre-workout carbs. Doesn't count. All right, so first I have close grip, neutral grip, lat pull downs. I've been doing these for a couple months and I've been really liking them just because when your elbows are out in front and you're able to drive down just primarily focusing on the elbows, I find it's a lot more lats than some other pull downs, which might have some upper back involvement depending on how strict you keep it. And this one's, in my opinion, pretty easy to keep strict and squeeze the lats on the bottom especially. So they're the first exercise I do because I'm also trying to prioritize lats. So I'll start off with that. So depending on the day and if the machine's available or not, I'll do just a single arm pull down on the machine that's also out in front. It's just a variation I like to do. A lot of exercises I have 1 or 2 other ones that I'll swap in depending on the day, but as long as the muscle is performing the same function, it's interchangeable, and some variety I think is useful for longevity reasons. Second, I have a machine incline press, and why I do the incline press before the normal press is not a matter of trying to bias the upper chest, it's just I prefer this machine more than the other one, and I think it's still a good measure for overall chest growth, whether I'm progressing on this. I've had to use a gym pin for it, but the loading is still the same.
I really like how it feels out of the bottom, even though I'm not able to get a full range of motion, maybe a bit lower. That just forces me to pause right at the bottom before I lose tension, and it kind of standardizes it that way. And this is really the only incline press variation that I've done for a long time. I don't see any issue with that as long as it's not giving your joints issues. In fact, keeping the same machine every time might be a better way to gauge progress, even if it's going to be slower. But once you get neurally adapted to the movement, then any progress you have is really muscular improvement, as long as you're auditing the form. The second lat movement I'll do is some form of wide grip lat pull down. This day I did a behind the neck lat pull down, which I don't usually do, but there are some pros and cons to it. You can use less weight, but your shoulders have to have that flexibility there, and if it gives you problems, just do a normal wide grip lat pull down. There's no additional benefit to this, I think. It's going to be a bit different in terms of biasing the back muscles, a bit more teres, but I do the second lat movement before my upper back work, which is one change that I made because I realized, well, I'm trying to prioritize my lats, not my upper back. The chest movement I'll do is just a standard converging machine chest press. This one isn't the best I've used, but it is enough range of motion, especially if I use the yoga mat. And it's a bit wobbly, the handles, but I try to keep it a bit slow and really focus on the chest. I don't think it's necessary to also go all the way up because that does activate a lot more triceps, but just out of that bottom position, the chest stretch is pretty good. This is my biggest dislike with the gym I'm at currently, is that there's no good machine chest fly. So I'm stuck to doing 2 presses for all my chest work. It's not ideal, and the gym I go to back home for the summer does have a chest fly machine, as most gyms do, but for now, it's just what I have to deal with. I've still seen great progress in my presses and my chest growth, but that's one thing I would change. Next, I will do Kelso shrugs on the low row machine, and I'll either do this plus a rear delt isolation, which I didn't film for this day, but I did do, or just a upper back bias row, which does hit rear delts. I really like this. It can be a bit weird at first, especially because it's a smaller range of motion, and being able to feel your scapular retraction can take a bit of time, but once you get used to the movement, I've really grown to like it, and I find that it's great for upper back. And every second back day, usually, I'll throw in some upper trap work, so dumbbell shrugs or trap bar shrugs, or while I was bulking, I would also do a lot of power shrugs with the barbell, but that requires a lot of momentum, which I'm fine with for the traps, but it is quite fatiguing. So at the moment, I just stick to some controlled shrug work. Lastly, I'll do abs. I try to do 2 sets every 2 days, and this specific machine is the only ab exercise I do right now. I find that abs can recover faster, so if they're my priority right now, I might as well do them every 2 days. That's everything when it comes to the chest and back training, but I'll also say something about refeeds. So far in the diet, like just a week or 2 in, and I've had quite a few refeed days, or cheat meals, you could say. The main message I want to get across is that your circumstances are never going to be perfect. You can try to adjust your diet so that anything that unexpected that comes up, you're still within your calorie limit overall, like for the week or for the month, the average, right? So it's not a problem, but you should plan for the unexpected. You're never going to have ideal conditions. My ideal rate of weight loss at the moment to start with would be 2 pounds a week, but of course that's probably not happening at the moment. At the current rate, I'm going at closer to 1.5 pounds. That's okay, because I know that the last week has been a bit of an exception. Going forward, I'm starting to have a better idea of how to deal with these things as they come up. If you're forced to go out and eat somewhere, you can control your portions, you can choose leaner options, you can maybe cut a couple calories the day before or after, but just not taking it to the extremes, like not eating for a whole day is crazy, or doing a ton of cardio on the side. It's probably not necessary. Deeper into a cut you go, obviously, I think it's advisable to have more refeed days or more diet breaks, but you don't want to extend the cut for super long amounts of time. At least that's my philosophy. I think the quicker you can get it done with at a rate which you're able to sustain in terms of the mental side of things and how you feel hormonally, the fastest rate that you can go at is probably the best. What I'll be doing going forward, I'm still not experiencing any side effects of lower food. My appetite's just fine. I've been going a bit crazy on the diet soda, but that's just per usual. And so next episode should be a shoulder and arm day, and I'll discuss cardio, types of cardio, whether you should do more cardio or lower food on a cut, that sort of thing. So see you next time.